Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine spending 40 years, just
Mhm.
saving for retirement.
Doing everything exactly right.
Exactly. You've mapped out the vacations, you've paid off the mortgage, you've balanced your portfolio to the penny.
You're completely ready for the golden years.
Right. But then on just a random Tuesday morning, that entire pristine plan is bankrupted. And not because of, like, a bad stock trade.
Or some sudden market crash.
No. It happens because the actual physical architecture of your house isn't engineered to care for you.
It's honestly the ultimate blind spot.
Yeah.
Today we are looking at this very intense, highly urgent set of marketing and planning documents, and they are aimed directly at baby boomer retirement planners.
Which is a huge demographic.
Huge. And while the source material is, essentially a pitch for a specific commercial product, we're diving into it because it exposes a massive systemic vulnerability in how our society plans for aging.
Okay, let's unpack this because the core problem this pitch identifies is what they call a fatal gap in modern retirement planning.
Right, the fatal gap.
The premise is simple, but, it's terrifying. We plan for a long, healthy retirement. The golf courses, the grandkids, the
Right,
travel.
young stuff.
Exactly. And we plan for death, right? With life insurance and wills. But we completely ignore sudden, severe health crises that leave us incapacitated but alive.
Like a severe stroke.
Or a fractured hip. Yeah. It's like buying car insurance that covers the tiny scratch on the bumper or pays out if the car blows up completely.
But offers absolutely zero coverage if the transmission just drops out while you're driving on the highway.
Right. You survive the event, but you're functionally paralyzed, and your traditional retirement plan is just completely useless.
What's fascinating here is how the data highlights a collective systemic delusion. Like, the numbers provided in the text are really sobering.
Yeah, walk us through the numbers.
Well, there are 67 million baby boomers currently navigating this phase of life. And of that population, a staggering 97%.
Wait, 97%?
Yes, roughly 64 million people simply cannot afford a professional human caregiver if a crisis hits.
Let's really think about that 97%. That means almost everyone listening right now, or, their parents.
Statistically, yes. Almost everyone.
We all know traditional facility care is ruinous, but seeing the numbers pinned down in the data just forces a massive reality check.
Because a nursing home is cited at $15,000 a month.
$15,000.
Yeah.
And full-time in-home care is even worse. The pitch puts it at $25,000 a month.
Which is just astronomical.
Unless you have massive generational wealth, bleeding out 15 to 25 grand every single month is going to drain a lifetime of savings in a matter of months.
And, this is not a rare edge case. The data points out there are 795,000 strokes in the U.S. every single year.
Wow.
And baby boomers suffer 70% of them. That is over 500,000 boomer stroke victims annually.
So we have an event that is statistically highly probable, paired with a care solution that is statistically unaffordable for almost everyone.
Exactly. We're collectively pretending that the transmission is never going to drop out.
Even though the math says it will happen to hundreds of thousands of us this year alone.
Right.
So if 97% of families are priced out of professional care, the math kind of dictates that the medical system has no choice but to just patch the patient up and discharge them.
Back home.
Back home into the hands of the only free labor available, which is their spouse.
The default reality is that the burden falls entirely on the partner.
And that is where the biological and physical reality just collides with our total lack of planning.
Yeah, the pitch vividly describes the scenario. A husband suffers a severe stroke, becomes bedridden, and goes home.
His only caregiver is his wife.
Right. And the documents state that the specific arrangement generally lasts about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Just 2 weeks before severe caregiver burnout and physical injury occur.
Let's talk about the mechanics of why that happens. Because
Right.
it isn't just about someone getting tired, It's about physics.
Exactly. We really have to look at the biomechanics of lifting. There is a massive difference between active weight and dead weight.
Oh, for sure.
When someone suffers a severe stroke, a significant portion of their body might be flaccid or paralyzed. They simply cannot assist in their own movement.
So you have an older spouse, maybe in their late 60s or 70s, dealing with their own age-related physical limitations.
And suddenly they're tasked with moving, bathing, and repositioning a partner who might weigh 200 pounds.
A 130-pound spouse trying to deadlift 200 pounds of uncooperative weight.
Multiple times a day, just to prevent bed sores or use the bathroom. It is physically impossible to sustain.
Yeah, it destroys the lumbar spine, it tears rotator cuffs.
The physical collapse of the caregiver is basically a guarantee.
And when that care inevitably breaks down, it triggers a crucial timeline mentioned in the pitch, which is the 90-day window.
Right, so the first 90 days after a severe stroke are critical for rehabilitation. Neuroplasticity is at its peak.
The brain is actively trying to rewire itself.
But that rewiring requires intense physical therapy, constant repositioning to avoid joint contractures, and really rigorous hygiene.
But if the spouse's back goes out on day 14,
All of that stops. The patient is confined to the bed, hygiene declines, muscles atrophy.
that critical window for recovery basically just slams shut.
It does. And the consequences are brutal. The mortality statistics they provide for this specific scenario are incredibly grim.
This is the scenario where the patient is sent home without proper infrastructure, right?
Yes. Without the physical support to facilitate recovery, 30% of these stroke victims die within 1 year.
30% in 1 year, that's awful.
And 75% die within 5 years.
The text literally calls this a stroke death sentence and explicitly says, "You have been warned," in all capital letters.
It's very intense.
The author, Herb Thomas, mentions he created this entire product line because he refuses to let others suffer the slow, agonizing decline his own grandmother and mother experienced.
It comes from a very personal place for him.
But looking at this as an analyst, I mean, is this stroke death sentence framing just, aggressive marketing fear-mongering designed to scare boomers into opening their wallets?
Well, the marketing language is undeniably aggressive. It is designed to provoke a visceral emotional reaction.
Right.
But the medical vulnerability it points to is a documented mechanical failure. The physics of spousal lifting do not care about marketing tone.
Physics is physics.
Exactly. When the caregiver's physical ability collapses, the patient's health rapidly spirals.
So while the presentation is highly provocative, the failure of the spouse's caregiver model is a very real, very dangerous phenomenon.
Absolutely.
So if human muscle is destined to fail and professional human care is financially ruinous, what's the fix?
This is where the pitch shifts from diagnosing a biological failure to proposing an engineering solution.
Replacing human muscle entirely with technology.
That's the idea, yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The solution in the pitch is called the Monorail Loop Smart Home Ecosystem.
Catchy name.
Right, and it sounds like pure science fiction. They're talking about transforming a standard suburban residence into a highly modified environment.
A very intensive retrofit.
We are talking about installing a smart monorail loop, a smart bathroom, a smart kitchen, a smart command center, a smart power bed, and a smart power wheelchair.
And the total cost for this complete ecosystem installation is listed at between $100,000 and $125,000.
Wow. Think about your own living room or hallway right now. Imagine looking up at the ceiling and seeing a recessed track system.
Right above your head.
It is basically like turning a home into a fully automated fulfillment center. But instead of moving cardboard boxes on conveyor belts, the architecture of the house is designed to safely move a human being.
The track uses automated slings. It drops down, secures the person in the smart power bed, physically lifts their dead weight, and glides them down the hall directly onto the commode in the smart bathroom.
So the spouse doesn't have to lift a single ounce. The house does the lifting.
It is a profound philosophical shift in how we handle aging.
How do you mean?
Well, the traditional model dictates that when a person becomes too medically vulnerable to navigate their home, you move the person to a medical facility.
You pay that $15,000 every single month until the money is gone.
Right. This ecosystem approach attempts the exact opposite. It attempts to permanently build the physical capabilities of a medical facility directly into the architecture of the family home.
So you pay a one-time capital cost around $125,000 for the house to do the heavy lifting, rather than bleeding out $15,000 in operating costs every single month for a facility.
On paper, the math is compelling.
It really is. But it introduces a massive logistical nightmare. Because how on earth does a family execute a $125,000 highly complex structural home remodel when a medical crisis strikes suddenly?
They cannot. They just care. A stroke does not give you a 6-month warning to hire contractors, pull city permits, order specialized power bands, and rip open your drywall to install a load-bearing ceiling monorail.
No, the crisis happens instantly.
Exactly.
By the time the ambulance arrives, the clock is already ticking. And that timeline forces the need for the specific service at the center of this business model.
The P-plan.
Yes, the pre-plan.
The pre-plan costs $10,000. It acts as a deposit, which is deductible against the final $100,000 to $125,000 build cost if the system is ever actually needed.
But what does that 10 grand actually buy you in the moment?
It buys a comprehensive, preemptive mock session. It is designed for baby boomer parents and their adult children to sit down and make every single structural, logistical, and financial decision long before a stroke ever occurs.
So you examine all the specifications, you choose the specific track layouts and smart devices,
You verify that your home's joists can actually support the weight of a monorail.
which is pretty important.
Very important. You pre-contract the suppliers and construction crews, and crucially, you pre-qualify for the financing.
The text specifically mentions utilizing a AELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, or a HECM, which is a reverse mortgage.
Right. Let's talk about how those financial tools actually solve this problem.
Yeah, explain the HECM part.
A HECM is vital here because it addresses the liquidity crisis of aging. Many boomers are house rich but cash poor.
Meaning they have equity, but not cash in the bank.
Exactly. They might have hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity built up over 30 years of paying a mortgage, but they don't just have $125,000 sitting in a checking account.
Very few people do.
So a reverse mortgage allows them to tap into that built-up equity to fund the home modifications without taking on a new monthly mortgage payment.
Essentially, the house's own accumulated value pays for the medical upgrades required to keep the owner inside it.
Exactly.
But the underwriting for a reverse mortgage or a massive line of credit takes weeks, sometimes months. You have appraisals, bank approvals, endless paperwork.
It's a slow process.
And you don't have months when someone is in the hospital. Which brings us to the most unforgiving timeline in the entire pitch, which is the 3-week window.
The medical logistics operate on a very strict schedule. When a severe stroke occurs, the patient is rushed to the hospital for acute care and surgery. After they are stabilized, they are usually transferred to an inpatient rehabilitation facility for post-surgery therapy.
And the pitch states this entire process, from the day of the stroke to the day the hospital officially discharges the patient to go home, takes roughly 3 weeks.
3 weeks, that's all you get.
If you haven't pre-planned, 3 weeks is barely enough time to panic in the ICU waiting room.
Seriously.
You definitely cannot secure a reverse mortgage, hire a specialized contractor, pull permits, and gut a bathroom in 21 days.
But if the PRE plan is already executed, if the HECM is pre-approved, the materials are sitting in a warehouse somewhere, and the contractors are on retainer.
The adult children just make one phone call the moment the parent goes into surgery.
That's the idea. The suppliers activate.
The contractors rush into the empty house, install the monorail, deliver the power bed, widen the doorways, and finish the entire remodel before the parent is ever discharged from rehab.
So when the ambulance brings them home 3 weeks later, the house is physically ready to cash them.
I mean, I have to ask you listening to this right now, would you drop $10,000 on a mock session for a crisis that hasn't even happened yet?
It's a big ask.
Think about the massive psychological hurdle here. You are asking a healthy, active 65-year-old to sit down at the kitchen table with their kids, look through a catalog of motorized slings and smart commodes, and sign financial contracts for their own potential paralysis.
It's confronting.
Even if the math is bulletproof compared to a nursing home, acknowledging your own severe physical decline is a huge barrier. Humans just hate thinking about their own mortality.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you are highlighting the defining psychological tension of the aging industry, which is optimism bias.
Optimism bias.
Yeah. We are hardwired to believe the worst-case scenario will happen to someone else. We assume the transmission won't drop out of our car.
Right, it's always the other guy.
But the genius of the 3-week logistics window outlined in this business model is how it aggressively addresses human panic.
How does it shift that dynamic?
Picture the default alternative. A stroke happens. The family is thrown into sheer emotional terror. The parent is lying in a hospital bed, and the adult children are completely overwhelmed.
Total chaos.
In the middle of that profound crisis, a hospital social worker walks in and says, "You have 3 weeks to figure out how to care for them 2047, or we are discharging them to a permanent facility."
Wow.
You cannot make rational, cost-effective architectural or complex financial decisions in a state of emotional shock.
You don't shop around for contractors or negotiate reverse mortgages when your parent might die?
You don't.
You just grab whatever life raft is handed to you, even if it is a facility that costs $15,000 a month and bankrupts the family's legacy.
The $10,000 pre-plan attempts to decouple the medical emergency from the financial and logistical emergency.
Okay, I see.
It shifts all those incredibly complex decisions to a sunny Tuesday afternoon when everyone is healthy, calm, and rational.
It forces the family to face the discomfort of planning now, so that if the biological failure happens, the crisis is downgraded into a controlled transition.
The stroke still happens, but the secondary disaster, the financial ruin and the spousal physical breakdown, is engineered entirely out of the equation.
So what does this all mean?
Well,
We've explored the terrifying demographic statistics, the biomechanical reality of spousal caregiver burnout, and this highly engineered $125,000 sci-fi home remodel pitch.
it's a lot to take in.
It is. But the ultimate takeaway from these sources seems to be a total redefinition of aging in place. We treat aging in place like a gentle, natural progression.
Like you just stay in your house and everything is fine.
Right. But according to Herb Thomas and the data in this pitch, successfully aging in your own home requires aggressive, preemptive architectural and financial engineering.
It is not a passive hope. It is a highly active defense strategy to avoid disaster. This raises an important question for every single person evaluating their own future.
What's that?
While this specific deep dive focused on one company's proprietary monorail ecosystem pitch, the underlying logic is universally applicable. We all need to critically evaluate our personal infrastructure. The data forces us to walk through our own homes and ask, is my house built for my health, or is it merely decorated for my comfort? And if my physical health changes overnight, does my sanctuary suddenly become a physical trap?
It really makes you look at a narrow hallway or a step-in shower completely differently.
Definitely.
Which brings up a final thought to leave you with today. If this kind of pre-planned, medically automated home transformation becomes the new standard for an aging population,
If millions of baby boomers start unlocking their home equity to install these systems,
how is that going to permanently alter the real estate market? We're used to looking at property listings that brag about open concept living, renovated kitchens, or being located in a great school district.
the usual selling points.
Right. But in 10 or 15 years, as this massive demographic wave reaches their 80s, will a reinforced monorail-ready ceiling become the most highly sought-after feature on a real estate listing?
It's a wild thought.
Will pre-wired smart bathrooms and widened doorways become more valuable than granite countertops?
It just might.
The next time you are looking at your beautiful home, plotting out your golden years, you have to ask yourself, are you just admiring the paint job, or have you actually engineered a way to survive the trip? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fatal gap of retirement planning. Keep questioning the infrastructure around you, keep looking for the missing pieces in the plan, and we will see you next time.